Shalom, everyone, and welcome back to Practical Spirituality. We're here in Jerusalem. I'm Yom Tov Glazer, and yeah, it's a wild ride for sure. Today we're talking about the fact that Jews do have horns. Okay, Jews have horns. What I mean by that is not that we have horns coming off our heads, which is what the Gentiles thought we had, which is a little strange considering that all the Gentiles could have easily have seen that Jews don't have horns, but they thought we did. Where did it all come from? It came from a part of the Torah, during the Torah portion, that Moses wound up with these rays of light coming off his head. So Moses had beams coming off of him. They were so intense that they were scaring the people. So Moses was like scaring everybody with these beams. But you'll also notice that people who have spiritual achievements, like people who've attained high spiritual levels, you may not see their beams, but they are scary. You know, they freak people out. And for that reason, that anytime you happen to have some kind of aliyah, we should call it in Hebrew, some kind of a transcendent experience, and especially if that transcendence has gone into you in a way that you've integrated it, you automatically need to chill out in public, like go mellow at that point. You're not the Messiah because you had a high experience. That doesn't instantly make you the Savior. The story with Moses, he actually had to wear a mask after that. It was like, I don't even know what it was. It was called a masveh, but he would wear this thing over his head whenever he was public, just to not freak everybody out. And when he would come back to the tent of appointed meeting, he would take it off again and go into his next level of conversation. I don't know, the next level of communion with God, and probably the next level of instructions for the Jewish people and for the world. But he would come out again and wear this mask. And all of us need to know that don't freak everybody out with your horns, meaning don't freak everyone out with your beams of light. And you really gotta keep it under wraps. And spiritual people have a certain glow about them. They have a certain beauty that shines and is very attractive. It's very magnetic. And what it's really magnetizing, obviously you can't magnetize something that's not magnetizable like metal. You know, aluminum is not magnetic. So what's really happening is they're in touch. The person who's achieved that light is in touch with a part of himself or herself that is in you, because we all have it. And what's happening is that particular person, because of their growth and who knows what else is going on with their soul, that they achieved it, they've become magnetic to everyone else. And meeting them, though, you don't get a sense like that. Meeting them, you don't have a feeling like they are anything other than special. There's just something special about them. But they're not coming out in, they're not wearing white all of a sudden. You know, if they have white outfits to wear, they're wearing them in select times. You know, they wear their white outfits when perhaps no one's looking. But what I meant by Jews have horns is Jews have ram's horns, meaning we have shofars. And it's a shame, I don't know if we have a shofar here. Yosef, we have a shofar here? This class is dedicated, by the way, to our dear friend Yosef Bahar and his amazing Halu Shpiza, which is right outside the Western Wall. And our audience can just like literally walk in off the street and join us here for these classes. And we're also open for sponsorships, so you can be in touch. I imagine the best way to be in touch would be with me if you'd like to have your company mentioned on this format. You could send me an email at yomtovglazer@gmail, and I'll look at my email for a change. Do people still look at email at this point in history? My email's 95% spam at this point. But let's get back to the horns. So here we are in Elul, and we are blowing our ram's horns every morning after the prayers. And there's a certain pattern of the blowing of the horns, and we blow them every day this month, which is the month of Elul. We blow them every day until Rosh Hashanah. We skip the day before for various reasons we don't have to go into now. And then the day of Rosh Hashanah is 2 days of blowing the shofar, as it's called. It's the ram's horn. And then it's blown again at the end of Yom Kippur, when the sun sets and the fast ends. There's a last blast of the shofar. Now, I'd like to sing for you the way the shofar sounds, just so those who are unfamiliar with it get a feeling what I'm talking about. So the blasts sound like this. There's a straight one that goes like this. And there's a broken one that goes like this. Same length. And then there's a fast one, broken up completely for the same length. And then there's the longer one, the simple one again. So that's basically how it goes. It's so there's 4 sounds. The first and the fourth sound the same, although they're totally different spiritually. The middle one's the broken up into 3, and then there's that one that's broken up into about 9. So it's 1, 3s, 9s, and back to 1. 1, 3, 9, 1, 1, 3, 9, 1, 1, 3, 9, 1, 3, 9. And it's a really amazing thing that we go to a tone blown out of a ram's horn for spirituality. This is like super high stuff. Meaning, the explanation of those tones in Kabbalah would take the rest of our lives to describe. The explanation of any particular commandment in the Torah, to explain it in its mystical import, would take the rest of our lives to explain. To explain any sentence in the Torah in its mystical meaning would take the rest of our lives to explain. And we'd never finish. We'd just never finish. You could take one letter of the Torah and just start discussing it, and you'd never ever finish. It just never ends. And it reminds me a little bit of when I was a young man, and in the dating mix, and before I was married, dating, once in a while, the person I was dating would say, "Can we talk about something a little lighter for a change?" And something lighter, like smaller talk, small talk. And what she didn't realize was the relationship was now officially over with those words. That was exactly how every relationship ended. And I knew deep in my heart that the woman I would marry would be the one who would never, ever, ever say, "Can we talk about something lighter?" Ever. And I found that woman. And we're coming up on our 30th anniversary, which will be right after Sukkot. And, just like right now, she's just pouring over books. As in our house, she is pouring over books of spiritual quest. And like for this particular day, she has dedicated to the study of Zilpah's firstborn child, whose name is Gad, G-A-D, Gad. And just while I was coming back from surfing this morning, I called her just to see what might be cooking when I got home, that I could have a little munch before I came into the old city to film, and which she most beautifully laid out on a plate, borscht and salmon, and it was really delicious, and a little salad with nuts. It was amazing. But meanwhile, she was just, our dining room table was just covered in books, and while I called her to find out what was going on with the Gritties when I got home, she spent 20 minutes just downloading what she had gathered so far today in her studies. And this is going on all over the place. This gigantic wealth of wisdom is going on everywhere. And there are single men who are paying tuition to go deeper and deeper and deeper into Torah in giant institutions all over the planet, but especially in the bigger Jewish communities. But when they get married, they actually get stipends to continue the studies, which is called kollel. And I myself learned 3 years as a single man, and then 5 more years in kollel afterwards. But it never, ever stops. And here we are, coming up to our holiest day of the whole year, and we're just going to blow sounds. Woo! We're taking all of this massive compendium of deepest wisdom, and we're putting it all inside like a little zip file. And then we're taking that zip file and we're putting it into the ram's horn. We're taking this incredible connection to the vibrational truth of reality, because this whole world is just it's a digital simulation. It's all vibration. And we're taking all of our wisdom and all of our yearning and all of our understanding of how this whole entire vibrational system works, which is called the Masa Merkava, the chariot. I'm not going to go deeper into that. And then how the whole creation came to be, which is called Masa Bereshis. All of this, putting it all together into tones. Tones. And there's something so deep about tone. You know, the most complex symphonic orchestras from the Renaissance period, it's all tones. It's all tones. I know the music you listen to, you're probably focused more on the words, but it's just tones. Meaning it's just the vibrations, without all the detail, without all the wisdom. It's just the vibration, well, with all the wisdom. It's just the vibrations. And we're going to, on Rosh Hashanah, we're going to stand very still. All the men will be under their talises. Many are crying. The women are usually sobbing. And we're all in there. And we're all standing together in that position. And we're just listening to those tones. And connecting to the highest possible connection with God, who has commanded us to blow these tones. Meaning this is one of the Torah commandments, is to blow these tones on Rosh Hashanah, which is the birthday of creation. And what about the beginning of all of creation is the tones, is because human beings we're vibrational relators, you know. I mean, I'm sure fish and fowl and animals have better instincts than we do. But in our best form, meaning if you could just get rid of all the garbage, if you could get rid of everything that's polluted your soul, you would be so connected, literally like the instincts of an animal who has perfect instincts. And we would be in that position. And this is, when I say the birthday of the world, I don't necessarily mean the world, because the world was created 5 days before, on the 25th of Elul, which is in a few days. This is the birthday of Adam. This is the creation of Adam, who now would be counting time from an earth perspective. Meaning on the 6th day when Adam was born, the count of time now goes from the man's perspective, as opposed to God's perspective. And when we celebrate that birthday, it takes all of the sophistication of man and wipes it clean. Man in his sophistication is problematic. It leads to ego, just egomania at best when man is sophisticated. And it leads to atom bombs and destruction at worst. Man's sophistication is a disaster. This is why the Jew who studies the wisdom of the Torah is constantly putting himself in check to make sure that he is, with his mask covering his rays of light, and he's super careful to not be so sophisticated that he's destructive, because sophistication comes with destruction. Even the king of Israel had to answer to the prophet who had that direct connection. The king couldn't move left or right of the prophet. He had to stay with the direct connection of the prophet. Not only that, he had to carry a little Torah with him at all times. He always had to have a Torah, and he had to read from it every day, to always remind himself that he's under God. But on the birthday of man, it's like not sophisticated, because sophistication is man's demise. And the simplicity of those tones is all we need. It's all we need. It's so simple. We start our day with a ritual bath. Today I not only went into rainwater, which is the ritual baths of the cities, but I also went surfing, and I was out in the Mediterranean ocean water, and which is just the feeling afterwards of solidity, not scattered, focused. We're doing that every morning, getting into that focused place. The brain, which is an atheist, meaning the cerebral cortex where all your neurons are, they're atheists. They report back sound, touch, taste, smell. But all that stuff is not, it's of God, but it's not God. It's godly, but it's not God. And so since the cerebral cortex is focused on this sensory experience, so it's atheist. And after we come out of the ritual bath, we get these leather boxes that we wear, the tefillin, and we place one of them right over the aperture that's right over the cerebral cortex. This aperture right there is called the fontanelle in Latin, but it's a great ancient name because the word fountain means fountain, like water pouring, and Kel is God's name. We put a because we're careful with the name, the name is fontanelle. And we take the tefillin, we put it on the fontanelle. And then we put it on our left arm, our weaker side. We put it on the bicep of the left arm, another box. And then we strap ourselves down. And we go into that full focus in our prayers. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the sounds of the blasts. So I think it's pretty obvious to all of us that when you have a simple long blast, that's probably thumbs up. And if you have it breaking, it's probably thumbs down. And if you break in further, it's 2 thumbs down. And then to have it come clean at the end is going to be 2 thumbs up. So it's basically thumbs up, thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, 2 thumbs up. And I think we can understand it in terms of our own lives, that everybody started their life with big time thumbs up. You know, you started your life as the beautiful child. When you were a toddler, you were simple and alive and free and self-expressed and loving and connected and everything. Everyone take a moment, just close your eyes, and just, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes, but if you're not driving, close your eyes and just take in a deep breath. Hold that breath and release it. And have in mind now, as you continue breathing deep, holding for a moment, and then releasing each time, have in mind the beautiful child that you were when you were 2 years old. Such a beautiful child, full of energy, full of life. You didn't need to eat, you didn't need to sleep. Full of love, full of connection. You would cry, you would laugh, all within the span of a minute. No one called you bipolar. You had full spectrum emotion. Said what you needed to say. Just great, like the best you ever were. And that's the long, first simple blast of whoo. Keep in mind that child, that beautiful child. Whoo. It's the soul on the simplest level without any sophistication. But as you got older, you can keep your eyes closed if you want to continue the meditation. As you got older, so you broke, especially when you became 3.5, 4 years old. And you realized that, you know, you're basically nobody and everybody else is somebody's, because that's when you become self-aware. That's when you stop calling yourself by your first name. You start calling yourself I. Because you're suddenly getting a point of reference. You have a self all of a sudden. You don't like the self very much because it's nothing compared to kids even 1 year older than you, and certainly 3, 4, 5 years older, and parents and you know, police uniformed people and ambulance uniformed people, and you know, you're just this nothing. You know, and then that's the best possibility, but unfortunately a lot of things go wrong. Embarrassments, bad parenting, you know, all kinds of limiting beliefs coming in. We're talking broken, like unwanted, unlovable, worthless, stupid, ugly, small, weak, lost, unsafe, invisible. All kinds of negative things that broke you, and that's the next tone, which is the shvarim. The word shavarim, the root of that is shever, broken. It's broken. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's broken. You can keep your eyes closed and breathing and just see yourself as a kid, no longer that beautiful child. How broken you are. course, you had to cover up all that breakage. No one should see it, which is why the brokenness stayed for all these years. I mean, how could you stay broken so many years? Why didn't something come along to fix it? And the answer is because you created what we call in the Possible Use Seminar survival strategies to cover it up. And so those are your survival mechanisms of fight and flight. Flight would be to be shy, shut down emotionally, stop trusting others, not to share yourself. Fight would be to be the popular person, the joker, the helper, the pleaser, the volunteer. All of that would be social. But when you come to the fear of failure, meaning your own personal abilities, flight would be to procrastinate, to be a quitter, or to never commit, avoiding responsibility, being a bum. And fight for survival would be being the overachiever, the workaholic, the perfectionist, the competitor, the busybody. Anyway, all of these survival strategies are how the brokenness stayed broken. The way you stayed broken all these years was all from the survival strategies. They're like a seal, like a hard seal of ways of being, which you're actually doing, they're not even being. The negative beliefs about yourself, what we call the inner negative beliefs, those are ways of being. All the survival strategies are doing, ways of doing. The fight is to do and dominate, and the flight is to avoid domination. And all of that locks in the brokenness. And that's how you could be broken for so many years. Ooh. 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 But all of this brokenness comes with a price. It comes with a big price. And those are the impacts. All the ways it's impacted you, all the ways it's impacted others. In other words, you have loved ones that have been hurt deeply by your fight and flight mechanisms. You yourself have been hurt deeply by them. And certainly you've been exhausted by them because you can't ever stop. It's never enough, because the second you would stop your survival strategies, you'd be right back to the inner negative beliefs, which are hiding right underneath. And so you're exhausted. It's exhausting. It's hurtful. Hurts you, hurts others. You're also exhausting to the people who are closest to you. You're just busy in the doing and the doing and the doing and the doing and the doing. You're just a doing person. You know, just if you can just do this, like be the funny person, or be the overachiever, or be the shy person, or be the quitter, or the avoider. You think you could just do your way till you die. You know, they'll put on your tombstone, done. But all of this has such an impact. Such an impact. It's such a heavy, heavy pollution of your original vibrational, beautiful child. That original tone. That is your purest tone. It's a real pollution. It's a how do you say chatzitza in English? It's a separation. It's a barrier to your true vibration. Your true vibration. What is your true vibration? Your true vibration is you now as an adult with that beautiful child, and your soul cleaned off from all of that. But the way you get there is by going deep into the impact, because the human being never trades a greater good for a lesser good. A human being always trades a lesser good for a greater good. It's called the law of economy. You always trade a lesser good for a greater good. When you give $2 for a drink, you're saying the $2 is worth less. Proof is you just let go of the $2. The person behind the counter says, I'm glad you feel that way, because they believe the drink's worth less. That's how every transaction happens. Everyone always trades the lesser good. When we get to this part, the truah, the is when we get to when we get in touch deeply to the price we're paying, the deep, deep impact of what it costs to be speaking negatively, like your own personal character assassination, to have all that negative self-talk, and the exhausting survival strategies covering it up in the world of doing, which is leading to utter exhaustion. What a shame. What a sad, sad reality. If you're married, your spouse is married to that. So sad. And if you're raising children, your children are dipped in it. They're dipped in it. Or maybe your spouse is dipped in it and your children have an intravenous drip line dealing with it. So sad. The people you work with, your finances, your health, your metabolism, your digestion, your arteries, the sense of ease in your body. What a price you're paying, wow. And that's truah, that's you can close your eyes and breathe and just feel that sputtering, sobbing, deep, deep feeling of how painful it is to live your life this way. How can you live your life this way? Wow. I can't go on this way. I can't shop here anymore. This is a rip-off. It's killing me, it's killing others. So painful. So exposed. And so then you suddenly open your eyes and you realize, wait a second, who am I? You can keep your eyes closed if you're in the meditation, but who am I? If I'm not these negative beliefs that I killed myself with, and if I'm not these survival strategies that I exhausted myself with, so then who am I? Who am I? And the answer is that you are a soul, you are a neshama. You're a portion of Hashem, a portion of God. God clearly wants you here, so you're wanted. Whisper the words, I'm part of God, I'm wanted. And God orchestrates your life as if you're the only person on the planet. Whisper the words, I'm loved. And God brought you here for a reason. Whisper the words, I'm important, I have a purpose, I matter. God gave you the brains to fulfill that purpose. I'm uniquely brilliant. And God only made one of you and say, I'm one of a kind. I'm beautiful, a beautiful person, special, a gift from God. And God is the power of your soul. That beautiful vibration is empowered by God himself, powered by God, which means you're unbelievably powerful. Whisper the words, I'm powerful. And you got this soul, which is your fiber optic link to God, which means you're holy, spiritual, connected. And God gave you wisdom, and you're wise. Whisper the word, I'm wise. And all of this is that final tone, which is called the Tekiah, or the Tekiah Gedolah. Close your eyes and breathe. Ooh. And feel that power inside of you, that beauty, that gorgeous, gorgeous soul that you are, and the pure vibrational transmission and reception. Ooh. One big one. Inhale deeply. As you exhale. So that first one, that's the beautiful child, is called a tekiah. And tekiah means like when you drive in a stake, you have a stake and a hammer and you drive it in. That's tokeah. That's the truth, man. That's what's been driven in by God. That's your soul. Tekiah. Shvarim is when you let yourself break as if you have a breakable soul. You can never break an unbreakable soul. And then the truah, also, the truahs was the sputtering impacts. That's called, that truah is also the word to wake up, to have an awakening, a breakthrough, a birthing, where you're like, something's got to happen. Like you're either going to die or you're going to come alive. And when you surrender into the death of the whole story, you let your whole narrative go, you come to truah. And that gives birth to the adult rectified being. That gives birth to you as an adult, but rectified with that beautiful child inside of you, with that soul inside of you as a full-blown adult with all of your faculties, all of your abilities, all of your wisdom, all of your vocabulary. And now you're able to articulate powerfully your vibrational truth into the world, which becomes magnetic. But you keep it under wraps, because Jews have horns, meaning we're glowing. We're glowing, and the truth is you don't have to be Jewish to be glowing. Anyone who's clean within has this vibrational cleanliness, and they have this vibrational attraction and glory. King David said to Hashem every night at midnight, how would King David know, 3,000 years ago what time midnight was? But he knew, because at exactly midnight, which is a spiritual time of night to pray, a wind would blow and it would hit his harp and wake him up. And he would sing this song, Uri Chavoidi. Uri Chavoidi means, God, awaken your glory in me, meaning God has placed his glory, meaning his spirit, within every person. And King David would say, Uri Chavoidi, wake up your glory in me. And that's what we get when we pray. Our prayers are the waking up of that glory inside of us in our prayers. And then he would say, talk about different Uri Chvodi, Uri Nevel, Vechinor, the different instruments. And then he said, Aira Shachar, I wake up the morning. Meaning, most people, the morning wakes them up. But someone who does this midnight prayer wakes up the morning. Aira Shachar, I wake up the morning. So I'll end with that as a song. It's a beautiful song like this. Also, if you ever need to wake up, you don't have an alarm clock and it's like really important to wake up. So you say these words frontwards and backwards. So you say, Uri Chavodi, Hanevel Vechina Aira Shachar. Shachar Aira Vechina Hanevel Chavodi Ura. You say it backwards and forwards 3 times, having in mind what time you want to wake up, and you'll wake up. And I've done it many times, every time I've woken up to it. Meaning if you're really in a situation where you have to get up and you wound up without an alarm clock, which can happen on Yom Tov or Shabbos, and you needed to wake up for something. Uri, 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 Ura, sorry, Ura Chavodi. Ura. I said Uri before, Ura Chavodi. Ua 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 chevodi, ua 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 neve, haneve vechinon, העיר השחר. ורה 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 כבודי, ורה 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 הנווה וכינון, העיר השחר. ורה כבודי, ורה הנווה וכינון, העיר השחר. ורה כבודי, ura neve vechina hayira shacham. Ura 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 chevodi, ura 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 neve vechina hayira shacham. Ura 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 chevodi, ura 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 neve vechino ayina shacha ya ya ura chevoidi ura neve la neve vechino ayina shacha ya ya ura chevoidi ura neve la neve vechino. Please subscribe, hit that like button, ring the bell. Shalom, everybody. All the best.